Jihad. Top Gazan cleric issues bombshell fatwa. In a groundbreaking move that has reverberated across Gaza and beyond, Dr. Salman al Daya, a highly respected Islamic scholar and former dean at the Hamas affiliated Islamic University of Gaza, issued a fatwa denouncing Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel as an illegitimate jihad. Dr. Daya's detailed six-page ruling criticized the operation, which resulted in over 1,200 Israeli deaths, hundreds of hostages, and a devastating war that killed more than 45,000 Gazans as a violation of Islamic principles. Quote, human life is more precious to God than Mecca, he declared, emphasizing that jihad must meet strict conditions, including avoiding actions likely to provoke disproportionate retaliation and ensuring the safety of civilians. Dr. Daya accused Hamas of failing its obligations under Islamic law by using civilians as human shields, neglecting to provide essential resources such as food and medicine, and bringing catastrophic consequences to Gaza's infrastructure and society. He referenced Quranic verses and the Sunnah to argue that jihad must prioritize the protection of lives and honor, asserting, quote, if the pillars, causes, or conditions of jihad are not met, it must be avoided to prevent destroying people's lives. Dr. Daya called on Hamas leaders to form a government focused on unity and Gazans' welfare, urging them to abandon factionalism and avoid actions that further devastate the population. This bold critique not only undermines Hamas's religious justifications for its actions, but also intensifies internal debates within Palestinian society and the broader Muslim world about the moral and strategic implications of armed conflict. So, this is very, very interesting to me. So this guy is known as like the Mufti of Gaza, and he is very important and released a series of 6 essays. And these 6 essays detail his rulings about the October 7th attack and that it is an illegitimate jihad and he's Salafi, and so he goes through and uses the example of, the Salafs, the companions of the Prophet, to talk about, why through their behavior this is wrong and how they're not doing things the right way. I was immediately very frustrated by some of the coverage I was reading of this in the BBC. Shocking, I know. Oh my god, the BBC. Oh my god. By the way, such a shame, like, how much it's been denigrated, absolutely denigrated. I can't trust basically anything they report anymore. But regardless, because when I went to go read other coverage of this that included more of the translations of what he was writing, like, in other media, they portray it as if he was being super, like, for lack of a better word, like progressive or something. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's be clear. When you go read what he said, he is 100% still pro jihad. Like, he is 100% still pro jihad. His quibble is that the conditions were not right. Like, basically, if they it's not even really about what Hamas did on October 7th that he has a problem with. What he has a problem with is the consequences and the disproportionate consequences on the Gazans and on the Muslims. That's what he has a problem with. Not anything that was done, not this level of atrocity against Israel. That's not what he has a problem with. Yeah, exactly. Dia saying he's basically saying that this was a bad idea, guys. We're getting crushed. His issue with it
Right.
is the disproportionate loss of life on
So
the Muslims. That's his
so
problem with
basically
it.
the idea is, guys, if you want to kill Jews, make sure that we can actually win. That's basically the idea. Like, this is not a good idea for us to go fight unwinnable battles. Basically, that's what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the perfect way of putting it, Armin, because if you go read through all the different things that he was saying, it was all coming down to going after people in the Hamas leadership who say that, like Khalid Meshal. So here's one quote. In the third essay, Al Daya rejected the claim by another senior Hamas leader, Khalid Mashal, that the group's losses were tactical, while Israel's are strategic, disagreeing that the deaths of the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza are part of the group's strategy to achieve victory and the slain can be replaced. The Gazan cleric responded forcefully by asserting that none of the Salaf, the early generations of Islam, understood such a thing. He asserted that while the scenes of death and destruction in Gaza have led to opposition to Israel by worldwide governments, charges of genocide against it in international courts, and student protests condemning it, nothing has changed. Quote, as the fleets of planes loaded with ammunitions and weapons of destruction continue to land in the airports of those waging war, i.e., Israel. According to Al Daya, what the politicians see as an accomplishment has not affected those waging war and will not prevent them from their ferocious annihilation of lives and possessions. So he's saying, you guys say that this is such a victory and that the people that were slaughtered can be replaced, but you've accomplished nothing. Like, sure, there's a little bit more media backlash or more awareness, blah, 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 but they are still, our enemies are still being able to receive arms like every single day. Like they have not actually taken like a tactical loss the way that we have. He goes on to say that the actions of Hamas, quote, according to the Gazan cleric, the ongoing war has, quote, caused a segment of the population from apostatize from the religion and a wider segment to increase their aversion and hatred of the religious who caused this calamity. Not only to mention the many who have been killed, maimed, or
Wait,
imprisoned.
what? Who
Yes,
he's saying that?
he said that.
Where people are doing that in Gaza?
I don't know. I mean, he doesn't I can't read the actual Arabic. I can only read the translations, and it doesn't specify that.
He's saying that he's seeing people leaving Islam because of this, because like they're like, fuck the religion that brought this to our lives, basically.
That's what he's
Well,
saying.
thank
Although
you for confirming that. This
sometimes
is
I wonder, sometimes these types say apostatize when it's not really full apostasy. They're just not being like good religious people. You know what I mean?
right.
So I don't
We take it.
know.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. Wait, is he himself like? I know he's the most important Islamic scholar in Gaza, but is from Gaza, but is he in Gaza as well?
Yeah, I
Okay,
believe so,
and
based on what I was reading.
is is there like, so is this like, can this get him in trouble with Hamas, or is I think he's too big of a name to get in trouble, huh? Or maybe because Hamas, maybe because people in chat were saying like, you're 1 year too late for saying this. Well, I mean, maybe it took 1 year for them to be devastated this much, for them to be like, okay, like we're being, this is too much, but like, what the fuck, right? So the cost has been too heavy. And also maybe because Hamas has been weakened. So saying these things in Gaza might be easier to say than before. Or maybe he's just
Mhm.
such a big deal that nobody can touch him. So I don't know. Um, and also the fact it's interesting because we have so many people supporting October 7th outside of Gaza. But when we have this Islamic scholar saying like, fuck this shit from Gaza, to me the difference is that the other people outside, they don't have to pay the price, and this guy is right there seeing all the fucking destruction and devastation. And even with this Islamic, very religious, anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic Islamic mindset, because he's there, he's like, yeah, this was not a good idea. Okay, like in hindsight, that's the, like that. And guys, this is important. Like, do not dismiss this, because this is this admission is so good for the pro-Israeli side, because there's so many people outside of Gaza. They're trying to make it seem like Hamas is winning, Israel is weak, Hamas has the upper hand, the resistance is working. And now you have the main Islamic scholar from Gaza and saying, like, yeah, we fucked up. So this is huge ammunition, like, to throw at people like Muhammad Hijab. Well, no, Muhammad Hijab is actually realizing what the fuck is happening. Like people like
Wait,
Daniel
what do you mean?
Haqqaju.
What about Mohammed Hijab?
No, I mean, you know that he's noticing that the resistance is fucking pathetically weak. Like he knows that. He's complaining about it. You should, like, even like when it comes to the support, you remember the tweets regarding complaining
Oh,
about,
yeah.
yeah. So like maybe people like Daniel Hayraju, they like, who has among Muslims, if you want to see who is like, this is such a trump card in our favor, because if some there's an internal fight between Muslims. Some people want to pretend that the resistance is working and Israel is like weak and pathetic and we have got them exactly where we want. And Daniel Hayraju is one of those delusional people who thinks that. But with this, it's so easy to shut them up, because here's the thing: there's two there's two things that will give you the upper hand in a debate, in a Muslim versus Muslim debate about this topic. Okay, so when they want to say like, no, I'm right, or no, like they're like, nah, I'm right. The things that they say is like, well, this scholar is saying what I'm saying, or people from Gaza are saying what I'm saying, right? So that's the two things, the two main ammunition that they bring as sources of information for a Muslim to say, I'm right, you're wrong. But now we have both in one person: a scholar, the most important Islamic scholar in Gaza. So this is an ace card for whoever wants to like shut like somebody like Daniel Haqqaju, like, yeah, you shut up. I have a scholar from Gaza, the main scholar from Gaza, telling that we fucked up. So that's it. That's the end of the conversation.
Using the example of the Salafs. He
Yes,
even brings up
exactly.
a quote from Ibn Taymiyyah to be blasting these dudes. Do you want me to read it?
Nice. Yes, please.
Okay. He quoted 14th century Islamic scholar Ibn Taymiyyah, quote, there is no option more blameworthy, excuse me, there is no opinion more blameworthy than one which caused the bloodshed of thousands upon thousands of Muslims, and their killing brought upon no benefit to the Muslims, neither in their religion nor material affairs, but caused good to diminish and evil to increase.
I've seen that. I've seen that saying by Ibn Taymiyyah constantly being used by Muslims who want to say October 7th was not a good idea. Okay, but guys, please
Mhm.
understand, when they are valuing human life, by human life they mean Muslim human life. Please keep that in mind. Okay, so they're like, oh, we shouldn't have done this. The loss of life is too tragic. They're not concerned about the Jews here, okay? The human life they're referring to are the Muslims only. So yes, just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no, I think it's worth bearing repeating that this guy doesn't have a problem with October 7th. The problem with October 7th is that they
It's
paid
the
too heavy
loss
of a
of
price
Muslim
for
lives.
it.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
And
Well,
that's what I
I,
hate about all some of the coverage I've been seeing about this.
but this is still a win, guys. Guys, remember, to finish wars, we don't need ceasefires. We need to crush the enemy to the point where they lose the hope for victory. This is a step in that direction. This is exactly what we need. So as much as we want to be like, okay, fuck you, this scholar, whatever we want to tell him, and we know that we're not endorsing him or anything like that. This admission, this is such, because they will not believe, like, if we say like, well, look, Israel is handing, like, is destroying you. Israel is like completely, like, all your leaders are gone, like Hezbollah poof, Hamas poof. So we are Zionists, they're not going to believe us, right? So but we need them to believe. We need, because the Gazan people know how much they have lost, but the so-called pro-Palestinian people around the world, they don't think that. They think like, yeah, this is, things are going great. Israel is like, we have, like, in fact, when Palestinians died, they're like, oh great, more reasons for advertising how bad Israel is, because their main agenda is to make Israel look bad. So Palestinians dying actually works in their favor, right? But So they're not going to accept defeat. But this, because it comes from Gaza itself, this is such a powerful weapon in our favor to basically shut down that propaganda. But go on, Suzanne.
One thing that I wanted to say that I thought was very, very interesting. So I was speaking to a senior research fellow at a highly regarded think tank recently, and he studies extremism and extremist movements in the United States, and he's been following a lot of the pro-Palestine movements in the US. One, he says that the amount of Russian influence in the ecosystems and conversation like platforms and channels of these groups is insane. So that was interesting. But also, Armin, what he said is that since Israel has just been mopping the floor for the past like 3 months, like beeper operation, then taking out all of Hezbollah, then taking out all these people, boom, 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 boom. He said that he has seen significantly less activity within the communications channels of these groups. That he's like, we need to understand that these tactical successes are very, very, very important, more important than we understand for our own extremist movements that are happening domestically, regardless of what else is happening out there, because they're so demoralizing to the point that people
Yeah.
just end up like walking away and disengaging.
Yeah, and also because communication becomes impossible, because every time you use a communication device, it either will give away where you are, or you might lose your PP.
No, Armin. This is for people that are operating inside of America. These are just for little extremist groups inside
Oh,
America.
really? So,
Mhm.
oh wow, they're demoralized. That's great. Fucking this, yeah, that's amazing. Good job, idea. You managed with your military accomplishments. You actually are winning the propaganda and the narrative war as well. That's fantastic. Yeah, people want to be on the side of the victors, I guess. So
Yeah,
that's good. Do we
that's
have any
very interesting.
comments here that we want to highlight? Suspicious timing. Okay, I don't know what this means. Why is it suspicious timing? It's late.
Yeah, and this person
Um,
raises a good point that I was trying to raise because the BBC didn't really talk about this. It's like he doesn't criticize the attack at all. He criticizes the damage to the Palestinians because of the attack.
that's a good point. Yes, that's a good
But if you
concept.
just read the BBC coverage, you would not really figure that out.
Mm. Okay,
Yeah, and then people are also
so this.
questioning like, "Oh, how long is he gonna be alive?" Blah blah blah.
I think he's too big of a name to be able to for something to happen to him.
Yeah.
And also somebody saying this is the Trump effect. Interesting. Also, as
Trump effect.
Zaid, I mean, things are like. Well, I'm not going to get into it. Zaid is saying, "Sir, your fatwa came a couple of decades too late," and also Dio was saying, "1 year later, SpongeBob
1 year
1
later.
late." Yes, a bit too. We'll take it though. And also, yes, Zaid is correct. To clarify, Zaid knows more about Islam than the scholar. No, Islamically speaking, human life is not more sacred than Mecca. Zaid, you're correct. This scholar, so-called scholar, doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. Also, we already highlighted that. Oh, also, Scoop Dog is saying happy birthday, Susanna.
Thank
Um,
you.
yes. Okay, so we have a super chat.
You do?
Um,
Oh,
yes, vacation.
Occasion is saying when a state has no bread, they need circuses.
I think he's referring to the Taliban execution to keep people entertained or give them something.
Oh.
This is a Roman saying, by the way. That's why he's referring to.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube? Blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.